Innovation Hub, we are into training and also business development as well. And as part of the hub, we have a makerspace, which also is into rapid prototyping, hardware development, and also training as well in the maker movement. So that's a very few that I can just say about NoniHub. Over the past few years, the Makerspace department, we've actually done a couple of training programs ranging from kids to ladies, and we've included a lot of schools that we brought on board, and we did a couple of trainings in programming such as Arduino programming, several hardware developments that we've done over the past few years since we started operation. All right. I think the purpose of today's call it's about open hardware in Africa, the challenges and then the opportunities. I would try my possible best to stick to time as I wouldn't be talking plenty. So I have some few slides here I would like to share, and we'll quickly run through some of the topics I have for this presentation. So I would want to share my screen right now. Okay.
Hello, Mustapha.
Yes, Frank, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. We lost you for a second.
Yes, I'm trying to share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right. So as I was saying earlier on, today I would like to speak on open hardware in Africa, some of the opportunities and then some of the challenges that are hindering us in the hardware space in Africa here. Now, I would like us to know what open hardware means. Basically, it just refers to designs and specifications that are made publicly. For instance, you make something and you don't want to hide it from anyone, so you make it very accessible to people to take your design, whatever you make, modify it, and then redistribute it. That's basically what open science, open hardware means. We have open software as well. I know there are a lot of people here who might be hearing open hardware for the first time, but this is the basic explanation of open hardware. It takes so many forms, including circuit boards, ranging from mechanical designs and product schematics, the drawings, the specification of the product we've made, if it is an electronic, the circuit board, the component involved, and all the processes involved in it. So you document all these things and then make them very accessible to people. Okay. Let's quickly look at some of the open hardware platforms in Africa. So in Africa, there are quite a number of open hardware platforms that I know. This is not all of them, but I think these are a few that I want to show to the audience. WhatsApp is an IoT platform, an open source IoT platform that provides hardware and software prototyping for IoT development in Africa. It's one of the platforms that is changing a lot of lives in the IoT space. Next is Sanzilla. Sanzilla is also an open source mobile solar, I think, yeah, it's a solar powered device that is used in off-grid communities. And we have Zambulance. So Zambulance is an open source ambulance that is it's sort of like a device, no, a mechanical structure that is designed to fit the back of either a motorcycle or a bicycle, which can serve the purpose of an ambulance in rural communities. So that's what Zambulance does. WeFarm is also another platform for agriculture. We have iCow and also Freedom Box, which provides internet access to rural areas. Some of the opportunities in hardware, open hardware, cut across so many areas, so many sectors. The major sectors in Africa that we have most of our problems in. Agriculture is one of the undoubtedly the largest source of income for many African countries. And we have a lot of problems there to solve, ranging from hardware, mechanical plowing to software-driven tools or data-driven tools. WeFarm is solving this challenge in agriculture. WhatsApp IoT Technologies also does same. When we talk about health in Africa, it's something that we cannot boast of as at now because of the status of clinics and even hospitals in Africa generally. Zambulance is trying to solve this problem by bringing up this low-cost bicycle-powered or motorbike-powered ambulance that can transport patients in rural communities to a nearby facility in a very short period. I think not only Zambulance, I've had opportunity to roam in Ghana for a while, and going around across some part of the northern region, I saw them converting these tricycles into a response ambulance. They basically fabricate something to cover the back, the trailer, and then they put in beds and make it very conducive for people to be carried. And they spray it like an ambulance, colors. So that's one thing that people are also doing to tackle this. And in energy, we have Sanzilla, who also provides a solar power device for rural communities. In education and water and sanitation, a lot of people have developed low-cost educational devices that provides content to remote areas. And also in water, people have developed open water filters, open source water filters for communities that's changing the life of people in rural areas too as well. So these are some of the few opportunities. These are some of the areas open source or open hardware can cut across. Actually, it cuts across all the areas in Africa. Okay, even in health, I've forgotten to mention some of the devices we have in open hardware. For instance, open source imaging. For instance, they also are into medical imaging. They make open source hardware devices and open source software to tackle imaging hardware, to tackle health imaging. Okay, so when you go to their websites, all the documentations for all the devices they've made are there. I think this is one thing that can help African health sector. All right, so moving forward, I want to talk about the benefits or the advantages, what open hardware actually brings to Africa. First on the list is it promotes local innovation. we all can testify the fact that open hardware can actually promote open local innovations in our countries. By, I mean, you don't have to actually spend a lot of time to learn and learn and learn and learn before you be able to bring something on board. It's even assist you with what it's help you to incorporate local designs even into the particular thing you are developing. For instance, in Africa here, we have a lot of local makers. We have blacksmiths who are making a lot of things. We can actually study their works, and then when we have some open hardware devices, we can incorporate some of these designs inside, and with the knowledge we've learned from them locally. Yes. It also provides low-cost solution. So this is the ambulance that I was talking about. This is just a very low-cost ambulance for rural communities. An ambulance can cost thousands of dollars. Imagine there's a whole district or a whole constituency which has only one ambulance or maybe two ambulances serving thousands of people in one district or in one geographical location. That's a very difficult thing to actually deal with. It can serve the community very well. Population is high and all those things. I think hardware, open hardware provide low cost solutions for that. And Zambulance is a very good example to that. Apart from Zambulance, WhatsApp IoT devices are also the same thing, open source imaging and a whole lot. It also promotes collaborations. Open hardware, as I first defined it, when you make your design actually open to the public, someone can take your device and say, hey, okay, I've seen your device, I've seen what you've made, and I would like to contribute to it. I would like to contribute or modify part of it to work more better. Or I would want us to actually go into this kind of research to make this device more standard than it is now. Okay, so it brings together innovators and makers all together to actually work on one particular thing. One platform I've seen that's on is I think the Arduino platform. I think they've collaborated a lot, and then they develop a whole lot of microcontroller boards in their in their environment. So open hardware actually promotes collaborative research, and that's a very good thing about open hardware. And also environmental sustainability. When we use open hardware stuffs, we also tend to save the environment. Actually, people, for instance, if they were open source mobile phones, phones that could have been easily repairable, or phones that could have been very accessible to people to know how they were made, so that when the phone gets spoiled, we don't throw it away to create more and more e-waste, but then we can repair and then reuse it. I think this will also reduce the effect on the environment. Solutions, a whole lot of solutions are out there that once you just acquire it, it's spoiled, and that's what you discard it. Okay, so that's something that's also affect the environment. Open source hardware can actually solve this problem in this regard, and also create social impact. It puts smiles on the faces of people. Imagine a community that doesn't have access to clean water, and then an innovator prototyped and then maybe brings out an open source device which filters clean water, which filters water for rural community people to get access to water to drink, or a health facility not having beds. We are able to make open source beds, and then we send it all across these health facilities instead of importing beds that would take a lot of time and also cost millions of dollars. That's what open hardware can do in the social impact creation as well. And also empowerment, and also it empower people and also capacity building as well. I would like to speak more on the capacity building. Open hardware promotes learning as well. So it's build the capacity of people. In my country here, Ghana, I think in the universities when people are about to graduate, There is this that they have to actually do final year project works. Most of them in the engineering school come from hardware. Their projects are always in hardware. And some of these students seek people outside to develop the product for them, which is something I don't always want to support. If we had open source hardware platform where there are a lot of project works, students can actually go there, see some of the projects available, take it, use their own knowledge, modify it, or even add additional stuff inside. Try to make it, or even learn from some of the projects over there and be able to develop their final year project. Some of the hardware devices can even serve as inspiration for which students can develop their prototypes or their final year project. This build their capacities when they complete school, they know what they are about. So that's one thing open hardware can also help in Africa actually. And also community engagement. Through open hardware, we've been able to engage so many communities, ranging from children to women groups to uh, vulnerability groups to the less marginalized groups, a whole lot of community. I think CC4D is doing that great work. They are based in Uganda Rhino Camp, where they include people in hardware repair and reuse. This is one thing that is very, very important when it comes to open hardware. It provides that platform for people to actually meet because project we are working on is not hidden. There's nothing hidden about what we are teaching. So that kind of inclusion is there. People can come and also learn from what we are actually presenting. And it's a very interesting thing about open hardware actually. All right. So having talked about all the benefits, what open hardware is, and some of the examples we see, they can be good and bad wouldn't be there as well. There are a couple of challenges. There are a lot of challenges, ranging from my personal experience in the hardware space to the general experiences that people report to. Okay, so let's take a very quick time to look at them. And then, yes, so we have the first one is limited resources. I think if there's any maker here, there's anybody here who does hardware, can testify to the fact that hardware can be incredibly difficult in terms of component acquisition. You know, me like this, for instance, anytime I get money, the first thing that rings in my mind is to buy new component for a certain project, new devices, new tools. Like it can drain you like crazy. It's so difficult. You see, it requires a lot of resources, and then in terms of equipment, and even you have to learn, keep on learning and learning and learning. Open hardware learning doesn't end. Every time you just want to keep up to date by learning new things all the time. So in Africa here, it's a very big challenge for us to get, some of these things too, because source of funding is a problem. And also learning platforms is another challenge. This actually draws us back when it comes to open hardware development. So right now, someone develops a device and then even put it up there with the specifications, tools, and everything. You can acquire the knowledge and everything. You can just go to the person, take everything fine, but it might take quite some time for you to even gather all the components because of funding or even where you even get them. Sometimes you roam or you have to even import from somewhere or other countries. That's one major challenge affecting us: limited resources and also hardware acquisition tools and equipment. Also have limited access to education and training. Many African countries have this problem. I think it's not only in Ghana here. We are doing our best, but I think it's not still enough because hardware training that goes on. Uh, Let me say in my country, I I can't just say is enough because we don't normally prioritize hardware like the way people nowadays talk about software. AI is now the trend. You see a lot of people into AI. Fintech is also paying well. So you see a lot of people going there, leaving the hardware behind. You call for training, people don't even show up. And this brings our energy down and it doesn't actually help us in even calling for more and more training. But I think with time, things are now beginning to change because of how hardware is stepping up to solve a lot of problems. For instance, in my geographical location like this, a lot of 30 hardware devices that we've actually prototype and people are seeing the prospect in it. I think we're able to use discarded fridges and then we're using them to make chicken incubators. Poultry farmers comes here and then they acquire them for free to just go and test. So it's also actually bringing their mind back to learning hardware. Some of them bring their children. They used not to think this way. So we've actually managed to bring them to the space gradually. Yes, so that's one thing that is very challenging when it comes to hardware. People have limited access to education and training in hardware. Also, lack of infrastructure. This thing is not only something that affects one African country. I say it affects almost every country. Infrastructure is not always enough for everything, not only hardware. So yeah. We also talk about lack of standardization. This is one point that I would want to hammer on. For instance, I barely see open hardware devices that have been standardized or that have been, I mean, it's you you can't put any standardization. It's make it so difficult to actually scale and also replicate the project very successfully. So that's always a very challenging thing because, for instance, someone developed something. I mean, we don't have standards that we put in place in open hardware that we say, okay, you need to always develop solutions to meet these specific requirements. Okay, so that when it is in the minds of makers and innovators, never anybody want to bring out an open source hardware device. He knows how he's building the thing to meet. But now it's more or less like we are all developing the things per our need or per however we think. Like I think that's another challenge when it comes to open hardware in Africa, and also limited awareness and limited awareness. A lot and lot of people in Africa don't still know, they are unaware of open hardware. I think when I started sharing the flyer of this, a lot of people keep asking me, what is this about? I say, oh, it's open hardware. They ask, what is open hardware? I'm like, wow. And not not people that I was expecting, like people from the engineering department, people from electronics, people I was expecting to actually know this were those asking me what is open hardware. And this is not the first time. You talk about open source, like it is actually something that's a challenge that I think we all have to collaborate and then come together and then work on very well. And also other challenges I also experienced personally. I think apart from some of these challenges, there is also one challenge of I think what is it about this people not accepting open hardware because of the kind of educational structure. For instance, you go to a community and you want to even start hardware, they don't even know what you are even talking about. Like the acceptance of it is so difficult. So that's one challenge I've also encountered. Like you have to actually bring down people to explain, like try to. It's so stressful. That's one thing that is hindering open hardware because we know people lack education in hardware. So now we are trying to open their minds up to open hardware, what it can help them, what it can do to them. But then there are some communities that resist that kind of change. I don't know if that is common to other areas too as well. Yes, there are a lot of challenges in open hardware, which I think if I want to speak, I'll spend all the time on this call and then we'll be having any other interaction. I think I have to pause my presentation here and then open up for questions and other open discussions. If anybody has any question to ask, I will be on to respond to the person. So thank you. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Chris. You can speak, please.
Hi there. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Thanks. Thanks very much, Mustapha, for your presentation. Very interesting. And I'm someone I have heard a lot about open science hardware, but still, I think that's one of the clearest presentations I've seen. So congratulations. I know what you're saying. It's a bit of a battle with people still maybe wondering what it is, but I think I want to encourage you to keep up the good work. Because with presentations like that, I think it can help a lot. One thing I didn't know about the Zambulance project.
Yes.
I'm sure.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sure for open science Africa open science hardware people, they know about it, but I didn't. I was wondering if you could just talk a little bit more. I know you talked a little bit about it, but you could talk a little bit more about the development process and how, which kind of people were involved and obviously the open hardware elements.
All right, so I think Zambulance is based in Zambia. The people who develop it are in Zambia, and I think let me quickly see if I can get the website link. Actually, what they did was they fabricated let me go back. So they fabricated, a trailer or a sort of like something to carry people in, and then they kept mattresses inside it, which that thing is detachable from the bicycle or maybe the motorbike. So you can actually attach it to either a motorbike or a bicycle. Okay. And they provided all the card designs, the models on their website. I think the last time I checked, the card designs were there. People have actually taken it and then they've even modified it more. They've made it more efficient than the first prototype they developed. So that's what Zambulance actually did. I think it was developed in Zambia. Yes, I wasn't actually involved in the development of it, though, but I'm hoping to also contribute to further development that will be coming up.
Okay, yeah, no, that's great. And what about for you? What would you say is the most interesting or exciting open hardware project you've been involved with?
Okay, so I've actually developed my own solar project for rural communities. I will rate it as the number one. I'm involved in the interesting project I've involved because it's touching a lot of people, and right now it has even kept me in the limelight under pressure to put out more. It's a project that was initially developed to provide these communities to be able to charge mobile phones, because where they live, they charge their mobile phones on market days in the next market. That's like a week. So that means that they only have access to electricity on weekly basis. And I was trying to solve that problem. But when I got there and I gave them the solution, something triggered me to redesign it so that I can get an upgrade solution that could even be able to power them, give them additional power that someone using the system can have access to basic lighting, and even if further upgrade can even help them to use it on televisions and other gadgets too as well. So that's the interesting open hardware I'm working actually on. But aside that, I've actually used other open hardware platforms such as the WhatsApp and Arduino platforms to also create some other stuff that I'm still developing in, which I'm not yet done yet. Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. And I remember hearing about that project, the mobile phone power project, because I think it was nominated for Africa Makerspace Network Award.
Yes.
Okay, thanks a lot. Oh, sorry, go ahead. Okay, thanks a lot.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone has any more questions?
Yeah,
Hi,
I think there's.
Hello, can I ask my question?
They are doing things in a wildlife.
Yes, please, you can go ahead.
They are not. They are just like the shadow.
Okay, I want you to tell us more about your team, how you're working,
Hello,
successfully
Sophie.
working
You
in
can
your
speak,
team.
Prices for return.
I'm
Hello.
speaking, I'm saying that I want you to tell us more about your team, how you're successfully working with your team.
And so on.
All right, so we are a digital innovation hub, and then we operate the Makerspace too as part of one of our departments. So in the Makerspace department, actually, I'm the only person here at the moment, but then I have people who have trained alongside with me. They don't come here all the time. So whenever I need them, I call them on board and then I inform them the kind of project we're going to work on. And if it requires training, I take them through, because where I'm situated, we don't have a lot of makers here. Now that we are building makers actually. So in the makerspace department, that's how I'm working. I'm trying to train people to work alongside with me on projects. So depending on the kind of project I'm working on, there are people here who are actually very good in welding and fabrication, who are good in woodwork, and there are also students enthusiasts who also have, skills in electronics. So when I bring them on board, I coach them. Okay, so they are actually not permanent; they are temporary team members that I work with anytime I have project I'm working on. That is in the makerspace department. But when it comes to NoniHub as a whole digital innovation hub, we work on we are a team of, I think, 9 people, ranging from the CEO to the CTO to we have our administrator, the finance, and the business development manager. We all collaborate our activities together, and then we have a research assistant too as well. So we are for NoniHub team members as the digital innovation hub, but with the makerspace, we have less people here, and because we have less makers in this region, I go down model of training people who are work with them temporarily on projects that I'm always embarking on. So that's how I do it here.
Thank you very much. And I also want to know if you engage the women, how many women are engaged or girls in your project?
All right. So I think over the past few years, I was able to. It depends on the kind of project actually I'm working on. The last time I was engaging ladies, I was engaging them on digital fabrication, 3D printing. So 3D modeling and printing. I had about 35 ladies who were showing interest. We don't have a very big capacity to contain a lot of people, but mostly I see a lot of women, ladies now showing interest to actually come into this space. And the second one that came, we had about 55 ladies who applied for it, but then all of them could not show up, so we were able to train up to 38 of them, women. I think that happened way back in September. Yes. So in hardware, when it comes to holding tools and then cutting stuff, making stuff, I normally record lower number of females, sometimes 12, sometimes 10, sometimes you see them 5, 4, yes. But the guys are those that record higher numbers. But then in digital fabrication, 3D design, modeling, 3D printing, that's where you see a lot of the ladies coming in, and they actually do well because over the past few trainings I've made, they've actually impressed me. Though that was some of them, that was the first time they were actually seeing a 3D printer. I was able to take them slowly, slowly. Now they could actually model something. And yes, I think I have written something here. Let me see if I can show it. If I can show it to you, something that one of the ladies did. Yeah, so you can see this thing. This is a pencil holder. This is a pencil holder. The first time someone came here was the first time the person 3D modeled this and then used a 3D printer to print it. Yes, that was a lady, and I was super impressed about that. A lot of them have done so many things, even more than this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sophie. Anyone has any questions, please?
Yes, I don't know, but are there any? Is there anyone on this call who is also into hardware, who is also a maker here? Hi, Simon Asare.
Hello, brother. How you doing?
I'm fine.
Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
enjoying your presentation.
That's fine. So yes, I saw you join the conversation, but then you were
Yeah, I was a
late.
little late. Sorry about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Oh, okay. Any other contribution, any question, or any inputs?
Maybe maybe since there's a little bit of time left, maybe Mustapha, you and maybe Frank can talk a bit about AfricaOSH and what it's.
Yes. Okay. So I think yes. So okay, let me share some few experience in the hardware making. Actually, always I keep saying this. In Africa, our problems we have greater percent of what we have, and the solutions to that is mostly hardware oriented, greater percentage. But we don't see that. For instance, you see a lot of people sometimes when I started this and then we started training as a hub, our hub develops, we train people in mobile app development, software, these software stuff. At the beginning, I see a lot of people actually enrolling for the software aspect of things. People don't actually want to try their hands on practical stuff. You see people not actually, you ask, they say, oh, I fear wires. Like, but then you come to the class and then you sit on a table or you sit on a chair, you use a table, okay? And all the furniture we use here were all developed by ourselves. We made them ourselves. We didn't go anywhere to go and buy them. So that was my convincing point to them. So you come here and then you sit on this chair and then you use the table there and you say you cannot use this tool to actually do something. Okay, think about that. So people began now thinking that, oh, okay, this guy is actually talking about something. So it's actually called for people to actually look out for problems within the society. Because when you want to look at the problems within our society, majority of the solutions for them are hardware oriented. Because I'm seeing that we actually dragging the continent on a very high speed to follow the West in terms of software. Now AI is trending. Just now and there, ChatGPT, people are in Africa and then they are replicating ChatGPT, like they are trying to copy what it's doing. while there are a lot of problems, for instance, ambulance like this that I show, the health sector, the kind of hardware stuff that we need to do there, we've not done about 50% of that yet. You go to hospitals, there are no beds. You go to the rural areas, there are no beds for even pregnant women to lie on to deliver. And it's so boring. And you don't see people showing the need to actually join the hardware movement, the maker movement, for us to solve some of these problems. When it comes to the agri sector, that's another challenging point. You go to areas where farming or agriculture is a dominant occupation, you know, labor and capital intensive. Mechanized farming is something, I mean, so difficult for the smallholder farmer to actually go into. Cost of plowing, the person cannot buy a tractor. Now, even if the person will be able to afford a tractor to come and plow the land, you can't plow much because of the cost involved in that. How are we doing to solve some of these problems? There is border work is in Uganda. They are actually developing these low-cost solutions, and they are making electrical plowing machines. Not only in electrical, they have electrical motorbikes. And the first time I saw it, I think I saw it in 2017, and I was very, very much happy. If we could jump into some of these stuffs, I think that could help solve most of the challenges we are facing here. In the dry season in the northern region, people want to do irrigation. Cost of irrigation is so high. They can't afford that. Smallholder farmers are actually the people feeding us. If these people stop farming, I bet you we will all go hunger. Like the commercial farmers, the large scale farmers who are actually farming on large scale and they can afford all these things, they farm and then they export their stuffs. Those people feeding us are those people with the problems. Okay, so in the agri sector, not only the mechanization, trying to at least prototype power tillers, things that can till the soil for smallholder farmers. When it comes to agriculture monitoring farm conditions, that's another challenging thing you barely see on farms. IoT technologies are there, open source IoT technologies are there. We can help the smallholder farmers with that. But most of the time, you see only one maker in one part of the you don't see anybody supporting, and it's like people always want to see the amazing stuff or people do. When I started this, it was like that. We organize for seminars or trainings for people to come and we train them. They come and then they are always excited about what you are doing. So they've not reset themselves to learn. You have to actually find a way of changing their mindset so that they follow what you are doing. They follow along with you rather than coming to actually see and then be excited that, oh, this guy can actually create a drone and then fly the drone. This guy can create robotics. I didn't like that thing. So it was so stressful. Like I have to actually work so hard to change the mindset of people, to actually let them know the kind of communication I'm trying to put in their minds. Because you can't be alone trying to solve all these problems. It's almost like impossible. Health the same way. There are a lot of, I think Simon, I can see Simon Asari's hand raised up. Hello, Frank.
Let's hear from Simon first. Simon.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Frank and Mustapha. I think you've hit the nail right on the head, right? So exactly, that is the problem, and not only with makerspaces, but I think generally with regards to STEM education across Africa, not in Ghana alone, right? Most of the things it's very difficult to relate with some of the topics that we are taught in class. So it's how many of our schools, even second cycle schools, have science laboratories, right? So you do majority of the things. Too much theory is difficult. So that's how come we have, if you get to our senior high schools, we have a lot of ladies in science classes. But how many of them actually come to tertiary and join engineering? That is a trend. But I think I'm really happy with what AfricaOSH is currently doing with the Make initiative that currently seeks to establish more maker spaces, right? Because with how many maker spaces do we even have currently in Ghana? In the north, it's just you guys, and now Hoping Academy is coming up, right?
Yeah.
So in the whole of the north, look at the vast region. We have only 2 maker spaces. When you come down to the southern part, we have only 3. We have only 3. That is Kumasi Hive, that DTL, and TTI.
Yes.
That is all.
Yes.
So if you're looking at the entire country, and these are the only maker spaces we can boast of. And what is even how many people can actually relate and work with these things? So I think, aside what we are doing within our small maker spaces, if there can be a way that we inadvertently, let's say, create much more awareness, because people are following ChatGPT and all the software stuff because they get to see and hear much more about it. But aside makers meeting in maker spaces and all these, the information is a bit constricted, right? I believe if we can send a message out there, if there can be a radio program, there can be a TV show or something that's probably through a collective effort, we can get to expose much more of the hardware things that are actually happening behind the scenes, create the awareness that it's not going to be another theory class where it's like you live in your head. You know all the theories, but you've never really understood any of these things. So yes, so I think Frank is talking about it. The Make project is looking forward to. I think I'll leave it to him to speak much more about that. But I believe these avenues that we are using is quite good, and it's quite a good starting point. Let's not stop. At least you've come this far. I've known you for quite a while, and you've been doing this, and you've kept on doing it despite the little motivation and the challenges involved within it, right? So let's keep it up, and I'm hoping that we can all join forces and create channels to advocate this more. Let's let people see the opportunities that are available. TTI was established when I was in senior high school, more than 10 years ago. But how many people living in Ghana knows that there is such a maker space in Ghana, right? Especially in TTI, because I've been there, and even in the school, not a lot of people know about the existence of the powerful machines that they have within those labs, right? They have the CNC milling machines. They have a lot of wonder. In fact, for me, aside Ghana Tech Lab, TTI is one of the best equipped maker spaces in Ghana, but very few of us even know about it or have even visited the space. Right?
Yes, I think that's very true.
So let's showcase it. I
very
think Frank would can step in and tell us much more about what the Make project is doing and how probably they can help solve these things, because it's very disheartening. In 2018, I was invited for a program at TTU, Takoradi Technical University, and the whole university, the number of females into the engineering project, as in engineering programs, was not up to 100. They actually had 80. Yes, they had only 80 ladies from bachelors to postgraduates. Like, we had only 80 ladies in that big institution with all the resources. So I think we have to create much more awareness. If we want to get more ladies to bring in their diversity into the space, let's create more awareness. Let's have programs that will showcase. Let's get good pictures out there. Let's create the story that we want. Or else we will still continue following this trend, because what we see and what we hear is what we follow. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon.
Yes,
Thank you,
I think
Simon. Thank you, Mustapha.
Yes, I think what Simon said was actually very true. There are maker spaces in the country. I bet you, I was living behind a maker space for 8 years. I never knew there was a maker space there. I left there, and then someone came from there and we met in Upper West region, and he was telling me that there's a makerspace here. Simon, do you know CSRI INSTI, Center for Scientific and Industrial Research, INSTI, the Institute of Technology and Information Research, and they are located at I think around Mamobi Kaukudi area.
I know of CSIR, but today is the first time I'm hearing they have a makerspace.
Look, I got to know they have a makerspace last month. I was living in Mamobi. Every day I passed by there. Every day. I never knew there was a makerspace over there. There's nothing showing that there's no programs going on there for you to even. And I used to go to their library to read. There was a library there. I used to go there to read. I never know. So that was, if you actually join the conversation from the beginning, you know that I talked about limited awareness, okay, of hardware. That is something that was given us. IoT Network Hub was actually doing something very great before COVID hit, and then everything went to a standstill because there were meetups here and there all the time. We meet up, people come from so many places, and then we do some of these hardware stuff. But after COVID set in, it disrupted the whole place, and we have to plan, and then plans have to change and a whole lot. So it's actually a very challenging thing for us.
Actually, there is even another makerspace in Ashasi. In Ashasi.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
So I like I said, if this is something we can even all adapt for the growth of our makerspaces and our hubs, right? I had the opportunity to work with Kumasi Hive for some time before actually going on to establish my own hub in the Western region. And one of the few things I learned from George himself, the founder, was that they've been able to do well because of how they tell their stories. They invest much more in, they actually have a whole media team that makes sure that they have quality infographics, quality pictures, and videos going out there telling their stories and the impacts of the hive. This has gone a long way to make Kumasi Hive what it is today. And I know it's through this that we have Ghana Tech Lab being established and all the other big projects that are able to come up, because people can now see and relate with it. But if you are recording with our phones, and you get me, most of us are not investing enough in media, but you can see that being in a digital age right now, and what is really selling right now is the stories people can easily relate with. These are stories, and how are we showing our stories out there? Mustapha, you've done a lot, but if someone doesn't really know you, how many people know about NoniHub in Ghana? Even in the north, how many people know about NoniHub? Right? Let's probably add these things to our budget to make sure that we are actually telling our stories and telling them right. Let's invest, because majority of our hubs do a lot of things, but no one actually knows about. And I know most of us have to work with limited resources, and as such, media is, we focus on media only when there's a requirement, you get me? But aside what we are showing to sponsors or investors, is for the long-term sustainability of our hubs, we should, or our maker spaces, it's very important that we keep an eye, or we invest in media. Let's make sure that we have quality images, quality videos out there. Let's put our stories out there. Let's invest in that. That is because, Mustapha, you will not be like this forever. You get me? You are growing. You will not be like this forever. You can't continue running NoniHub's Makerspace all alone for the next 8 years. You've been doing so for quite too long. And this shouldn't. So what is the succession plan? Who is getting to know about it? Who are you? These are things that will not happen if we don't invest and put the stories out there. we need more maker spaces in Ghana, and I'm happy the Make project is doing that, right? But outside foreign investment, these are things we have well-to-do individuals within the country and within our various countries that can actually even support these things if they can see and relate with some of the things that we are doing. So people are building pencil cases, pencil holders, and all these things. How are you monetizing these things, right? These are things, if you do it and there is commercial value in these things, I believe it will work. Not that we come in, we do it once a while, we do something nice and we tick the boxes and we are done. That shouldn't be the end. Let's put our stories out there. And I'll be very grateful to see something like a Makers TV. Let's have something like that. Let's start dropping the information out there, because even if nothing at all, AfricaOSH can have a TikTok account where we display some of the good, like nice videos from each of our members across Africa. That alone, with a lot TikTok and all these things, will start push, because a lot of people are on TikTok, on YouTube and all that. We all have our own, but if it's consolidated and we are showing, people will get interested, because you are here because you saw something that probably from somewhere, someone, and you got interested, you wanted to know more, right? We all tend to look and follow what we know, we see, and we are. So let's put the message out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Anyone else? I think we are out of time already. And Simon, one more clarification. Make wouldn't be directly building maker spaces across Africa, but rather focuses on maker spaces across Africa and in Europe.
Okay.
All right.
So the onus is on us now, right? How do we create the awareness? Thanks a lot, Frank. It's been amazing, Mustapha. I really appreciate all the work you are doing. Let's keep it up.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mustapha, for highlighting some of the opportunities and challenges that open hardware faces in Africa. And hopefully, with your contribution and all of your support, Africa should also continue to push for the push for open hardware and open science hardware to be ubiquitous in Africa also. So in the light of that, we would call this call to an end. And thank you everyone for attending, and hopefully we see you your next month's community call.
All right. Thank you everyone for joining. All right. Bye for now.
Thanks and bye too.